Hey guys, John here. Go on ahead, do us a big favor real quick before we actually go ahead and get started. Go over to Good Pods, go over to Spotify, go over to Apple Podcasts to go ahead and rate us over there. That's an easier way for everyone to go ahead and follow us and also too for other people to find us. So go on ahead and do all that stuff, subscribe, rate us, and we'll go on ahead and start the show up in a minute. I have my good friend Gus here, and I've been wanting to have him on my podcast for a while, so it's just great to actually have him here. So go on ahead, pull up a chair, enjoy the show. We're going to be talking about Marvel's R-rated shows, and they are headed to Disney Plus. And without further ado, let's go on ahead and get on with the show. Yeah. All right. And like I said, I have my good friend Gus here. Say hello to everybody, man.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
And so, like I said, tonight we're actually talking about Marvel's R-rated shows are headed to Disney Plus. Before we dive into our speculations on this, I do want to give you guys some context behind what I'm doing. This was actually on March 1st when it was announced that, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Punisher, and The Defenders limited series, as well as Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has been streaming exclusively on Netflix, will be moving to Disney Plus starting March 16th. They will be available across all other Disney Plus markets later this year. The rivals of the Defenders franchise, whose series are all rated TVMA, is ushering in a new era for Disney Plus in the U.S., which launched a family-friendly destination with all of its programming fitting into the TVY7, TVG, TV PG, and TV 14 ratings categories to accommodate the introduction of TVMA programming evaluate to an R rating in features. Disney Plus will be updating its existing parental controls in the U.S. That this already has, and to be honest with you, they already implemented it already internationally, including in EMA Where Star, which features adult programming from Hulu, FX, and other Disney entities, is intriguing into Disney Plus. So this is actually a report that comes from Deadline that I'm reading off of. There have been speculations that Disney may be broadening their range of content on Disney Plus beyond family entertainment in order to maintain subscriber growth after the big slowdown and new signings for the streamer reported in November. Chatter intensified after it was revealed last month that Netflix is licensed to the six Defenders of S.H.I.E.L.D., which streamed exclusively on Netflix until yesterday, February 28th. Originated on ABC, so its rating is TV 14. So while the Six Defender series, which starred a Netflix original, were developed and produced pre-Disney Plus under a different regime by the now defunct Marvel Television, the Kevin Feige runs Marvel Studios also appear to be pushing the content envelope in some of its upcoming Disney Plus output. And Kevin Feige went on to say, "It's been fun to work with Disney Plus and see the boundaries shifting on what we're able to do." Feige said recently, describing the title character in the company's Moon Knight series as loud and brutal. The knee-jerking reaction is, "We're going to pull back on this, right?" No, we're not pulling back. There's a tonal shift, Feige said. The rating for Moon Knight has not been revealed yet. The series debuts March 30th, 2 weeks after Disney Plus introduces the new parental controls that include access to TVMA content. In addition to Disney regaining control of the existing episodes of the Defenders series, Feige has indicated that there is a possibility to reboot some of the shows, including Daredevil, whose star Charlie Cox recently made his MCU debut in Spider-Man No Way Home. Having six former Netflix series on Disney Plus would make a potential expansion of the Defenders universe on the Disney streamer and integrating into the larger MCU pretty seamless. That already has been done with Disney Plus' recent Marvel series, Hawkeye, which features Daredevil villain Vincent D'Onofrio, Kingpin, after Netflix's ban on Disney use of a character had expired. So, that's everything in its full context. So when you look at this, Gus, does this make you actually happy to know that we have now the Netflix brand in the Disney Plus section now, but it's under the parental control and guidance of Kevin Feige, which is something that I really am happy with.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Disney, when Disney Plus started, we all thought about it, and we just thought, it's a streaming service for children, basically.
Right,
Um, yeah. So when I heard that this was coming, because when for me, Netflix did, we always compare DC with Marvel. DC being a very, very obscure, dark kind of universe, and Marvel being very, very like a lighthearted, funny one. So when Netflix introduced all those characters, now all of a sudden they were allowed to speak, with using adult words, and they were allowed to say stuff like that. So it was a bummer, because I really enjoyed those shows on Netflix. It was a bummer when I heard that they were, you know, removing them, but then when I heard they were bringing them to Disney Plus, I was like, well, how are they gonna do it? What's gonna be the rating? Because there's only so much they can actually like show on Disney Plus.
right.
So hopefully it's like a good step towards like something better, because I know that now that Marvel works with Disney a lot, and they're moving those shows. I'm like, okay, well, now we have options. We have options. We can
Right.
we can do a lot more stuff now, and the fact that they're like going back to like movies like in the theaters, and then like streaming like shows. I mean, that to me says a lot. So I think it's cool. I mean, if it's R rated, it's even better. But however they can work with that, I think that's the best thing right now.
I definitely agree with you, and also too with Disney owning Fox, it gives more of an opportunity to move, like you said, the catalogs of other things into the Disney Plus family. And also too, I was also wondering the same thing because I remember posting memes about Disney Plus with Kingpin. He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry for slamming your head in the door and causing you to die uninterruptedly with blood gushing out of your head." I'm not going for verbatim, but that's basically the context of it because of the fact of how bloody and gory the Netflix series are. And then I'm like, and then whenever I heard, oh, we're going to go on ahead and move those series over to Disney Plus, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. From a studio's perspective, I understand why you would want to do that. You will want to have all your stuff underneath one umbrella, but it's according to how you actually do it, right? So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so is this going to be TVMA? How are they going to actually do this in the kids section? And also, too,
Yeah.
I know that other streaming services are actually having parental controls and stuff like that as well. So that's actually a good way to actually incorporate the adults now. Now you have the adults on board for Disney Plus because now you have something for adults to watch. So there's no more geared towards kids. It's just going to be in a special section that we can actually enjoy again, and we can stream Daredevil again and things like that. And also, this also goes to show you that that Deadpool can now live in this family. The only
Mhm.
question is that this though, how do you incorporate Deadpool into the MCU movies? That's another thing. But the fact that you can actually have Deadpool in the MCU, but not only in the MCU, but in the Disney catalog for Disney Plus, it thrills me. It makes me happy as a fan as a film fan, and also as an MCU fan to see that. And then, of course, Charlie Cox is in of course, in Spider-Man: No Way Home. Then you have Francis D'Onofrio, who made his
Mhm.
great appearance. Even though I didn't like the Hawkeye series, I liked his appearance because this is a different version of Kingpin than what we normally got. This is not the same one that we got from Netflix. But now it makes me wonder if they're now going to turn the table where now this is actually going to be the Francis D'Onofrio that we know from Netflix.
Yeah.
Things that are going to change.
Well, well, with Vincent D'Onofrio, I think they'll probably like tone it down just a bit, just because on Netflix he was
Hmm.
very, very gory. I mean, extremely, like it was very very graphic. And he did do stuff on the Hawkeye show. But I don't know what, that's what I was saying. Like rating is important, yes, but if we're being honest, how many children or parents do you think are gonna be like, oh, like it's rated R, let's not, don't watch it, like stay in your bed, go watch the cartoons, right?
Right.
Realistically, it's not gonna happen. Realistically, it's just gonna become one of those things where yes, they're gonna be like ratings, and they're gonna be like, well, you can't watch this because of so and so, but at the same time, kids are gonna be like, well, we just really don't care, like we're watching this and that's it. So I know because of that, like it's important to put the ratings to not get in trouble. But at the end of the day, it's the parents' job to be like, okay, you know what, I allow you to watch this, or like, watch this with me. um so yeah, I mean, it's up to us to see who can watch what. And again, Disney
Right.
Plus just started with an idea of just like putting all those like Disney Channel shows and like Disney Channel movies or like kids movies. And now that we're stepping like, like they're going outside of their comfort zone and being like, well, you know what, we're adding all these shows, and we're like, there's blood involved, um and all these fight scenes and all these bad words, like that hypes me up. Because again, they're always, Marvel is always, it's always kind of like compared to DC as being like the lighthearted, the kids things. But now that we see that all of that is going to be okay, on Disney Plus, that's like, that's perfect. That's perfection. That's like, now we can watch whatever we want. And again, I'm sure that they're going to keep moving forward, and they're going to keep doing a lot of more things, and hopefully it stays that way.
That's what I'm hoping though too. Like this means now we actually can have John Bernthal, the best Punisher that we had. Don't get me wrong, I love Thomas Jane back in the early 2000s because I thought
Mhm.
that was the epitome of what we were going to get for the Punisher. At that time, he was actually that gritty Punisher that I was looking for. Now he looks like a little bedtime story they would actually tell your kids. This
Yeah.
is the version of the Punisher that I want. Is the John
Mhm.
Bernthal one. And I like how John Bernthal put it. He said, if this is going to be a watered down version of Frank Castle, I don't want to be even in any part of it. So this tells me that they could actually keep the same tone as long as it's within the Netflix or the Disney Plus MA rating. But they could
Yeah.
also downplay it a little bit in the PG-13 realm as little small cameos to where it's not so much watered down, which is something that I'm okay with because if it's little small cameos where they appear, I'm fine with it. But here's the thing: I have a big thing against R-rated movies with comic book films where it's R-rated for the sake of being rated R, and it doesn't do anything. You can slap a rated R rating on anything, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't amplify your excitement for anything. It doesn't amplify the plot point. Congratulations, you made a Batman movie that's rated R. Congratulations, you made an X-Men movie rated R, which some X-Men characters should be rated R. But, and also too, Wolverine, Logan is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. Just want to put that out there. But just slapping an R-rated logo on something for the sake of dropping a R-rated logo does not do anything to excite me as a fan.
Yeah.
But the reason why these work is because it identifies the characterization of the characters and who they are. And that's why it's so important to have these characters as rated R characters and not be so watered down. And, you can actually see the difference in Francis D'Onofrio's Kingpin with Hawkeye because he looked like he was overpowered and stuff. Don't get me wrong. I mean, even in Netflix's Daredevil as well, he was strong and everything, beating the crap out of Matt. But there was some weakness to him as well, where Matt winds up cutting him, for instance. You see little small things of weaknesses. Let's see here. Francis D'Onofrio gets hit by a limo. You see another thing that happens where he gets caught in a trap with the arrows and stuff like that. So he was definitely overpowered. He was also a different version of the Kingpin that we know. But I'm hoping that they explain the transformation of that character into an MA setting to where it's not
Yeah,
so much of a mess, which I believe in Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige
yeah,
knows how to tell a story and gets the best out of everything.
yeah. It's true. It's true what you say. Because when it was on Netflix, the fight scenes and everything. I mean, he could take he could take on Daredevil, like nothing, right? He could do that. But then he came to Disney Plus, and uh, Kate Bishop, who is like who's barely starting, who's not as strong. She's young. She kind of like overpowered him in a way too. And I was like, oh well, it took what Daredevil 2 3 seasons to do something about it,
On a
but it takes
strategy
her
for
like
him.
yeah, but it takes her like 2 episodes. Um,
I would say just one episode because he was only
yeah,
introduced into that one episode. I'm like, Matt had to come up with like 3 or 4 episodes just to try and figure out a way to take him down, not only physically but mentally though too. Especially when you had that last season of Daredevil, it was more of the fact that he was learning strategy on how to take someone down rather than
yeah,
using physicality. And Kate didn't use either one of those things.
nope.
Used more physical ability, yeah, but not mental ability to actually take him down. But I was excited to see Kingpin, but at the same time, that's a different version of Kingpin of what we have.
Yeah.
But I just hope that they manage to give us the same Kingpin that we had from the Netflix series as well.
So when the show ended on Netflix, it ended on a note where, Kingpin was going to like stay silent because to protect his loved one. So in a way, I think that's what they're gonna go through. If they
I'm hoping that's
ever
what
bring
they
him
do.
back, where he's like, I'm a little bit toned down because I need to be careful with what I say. Because I mean, Daredevil still exists. Obviously, we watched it on Spider-Man, No Way Home. I keep getting confused. No Way Home, is it?
Yeah, it's not. It's No Way Home because I
Yeah,
did the
No Way
same thing
Home.
too with my top 10 list or something like that, where I actually called it Far From Home. I'm like, no, no, no,
Yeah,
no. That's not the one. It's No Way Home. But yeah,
yeah, it's No Way Home.
it's
Like
No Way
No Way
Home.
Home because he can't go home because of what happened. Um, but yeah, it's the same thing when I went to go see Spider-Man. This is what Marvel, the MCU does for me. Like they always have a way to like excite people and put something in there and like jam something in there so that you can go like, oh hell yeah, like this is what I wanted. This is what I expect from the MCU. So when I saw the picture of Vincent D'Onofrio on Hawkeye, I was like, wait, who's that? So I did expect a lot more. Obviously, it was what an episode and a half maybe. I did expect a lot more, and I didn't. I would have wanted him to go against Hawkeye himself, not Kate Bishop.
That's what I was hoping.
They should have given her. They should have given her like a secondary, like a minor villain, because the show was not about her. It was about
No,
Hawkeye.
and you see, that's where I feel like that she should have faced off against his niece versus being faced off against Kingpin. Don't get me wrong. I know the mother was doing business with Kingpin and stuff like that, and there's more of a threat because that's her mother. And I understand the plot point, but she could have actually taken care of his niece on the building or something, knock her out, then go down to the bottom and try to help Clint out, and still have that moment of them trying to take down Kingpin together.
Yep.
That was the issue that I had with that because it could have been planned out a little bit better. But what I said before was I wish that they would actually make their own studio for like all these horror R-rated characters, like for Marvel Knights. I don't know if you're familiar with Marvel Knights or anything.
I'm not familiar with them, but I know there's. I don't know if it's the same as the game that's coming out.
Well, Marvel Knights is actually consists of Ghost Rider, you have Punisher, you have Jessica Jones, you have all those characters into one comic book, basically. It's kind of like the Defenders, but it's a little bit different in a sense. But and also too, you have all these hard R-rated. Even Blade is in this thing too. So you can actually have all these characters underneath one umbrella in a Marvel Knights studio, and still be underneath the Disney Plus brand. You can just separate the studios from it a little bit and have like a Marvel Knights studio section in Disney Plus and do it that way. But that was always my thing. Was I think that they could have actually done it that way and had our R-rated stuff, and I think it would actually come out nice. But that's just me from a fan's perspective. I'm not a studio executive that makes these executive decisions. But, you know, it makes me excited. It makes my heart happy. You know what, man? I actually agree with you, though. Those hallway fight scenes in Daredevil was just awesome to see. Even the long hallway shots with Daredevil. Then you also have a couple of elevator scenes and things like that. The action sequences were really fantastic. It's a slower pacing show than what we're used to, but the meat for us to actually digest it was so much better. To actually do a slow pacing show, let us be invested into the characters of Foggy and Matt being lawyers, and then following it up with Matt doing his thing that he always does at night. So I thought they did a very good job incorporating that. And then seeing Matt in the MCU, I fanboyed like crazy. I'm going to be honest with you.
No, I didn't expect that at all. I had seen some spoilers, not voluntarily. Like I didn't go in and look at the spoilers, but you know how it is. Like people spoil stuff,
right?
And there was no spoiler about that. So when I saw that, I was like, wait, who's that? You know, like it was like the theater went like crazy too. But yeah, it's like I was saying, like with Yelena, she came into Hawkeye, and she was also on an MCU movie. She was the same way that she was on the film, you know, because there weren't like Black Widow was not that gory or anything. And to me,
because they come from the MCU style of things. Princess D'Onofrio is totally different because they come from that Netflix universe, which is more grittier and bloodier and stuff like that. Especially when you're dealing with the Punisher, that whole entire prison scene was just gruesome.
That's what I was going to compare it to. Because when we saw, like, for example, one of my favorite scenes on the Defenders is when they first bring Elektra. They introduce Elektra, and then like she doesn't know who she is, obviously, but everyone's on that building, and like everyone's fighting on that hallway, that very narrow hallway. Versus the Punisher's scene where he's in prison and like he's tackling everyone, and I'm like, well, those are like very, very different scenes, because one of them is like a bloodbath, right? Like it's crazy how much like how gory it is. And I'm just wondering, like, okay, so in order for them not to water that down for a Disney Plus, I'm like, what can they do? Like, because the Punisher was very graphic.
It was graphic, but we also saw a little bit of grittiness from the Falcon and what's that? What's the Disney Plus show that they had?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We saw a little bit of that grittiness from the stupid, you know what I'm talking about, not from Party Store, from Halloween Store, Captain America. Best Value Captain America. That's what I call them. Yeah, and we remember that part where, and remember that part with the scene where he picks up his shield and starts killing the guy with the shield, and you see the blood. I think that would be the way that they would actually do it, to where you don't see how gruesome it actually is. They just film it from up, and then they just focus it on whatever weapon that the character is actually having versus it being so gruesome. Because, you know, especially when Francis D'Onofrio winds up slamming that guy's head in the van, I'm like, dude, he's dead. Let it go. He just keeps on wailing on him. I'm like, and then get this. I remember this is way before Disney Plus. I'm sure you remember this, right? Where, remember whenever everyone's like, oh, they're going to be in the MCU. This is going to be so fantastic. I'm like, and then all of a sudden I see that scene. I said, no, they're not going to be in the MCU. I was like, you guys might as well forget that, because that's a total different tone on what they were going for. these characters do not belong in the MCU. Yeah, they can be giving little nods here and there, but nope. But this time, I'm actually happy with the direction that they're going in.
Yeah. Yeah, like on the Netflix shows, I remember I think Jessica Jones mentioned there was mention of I believe Captain America, but just mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, like it wasn't like, oh, let's showcase him, let's see who that is. Um, but see, that's what I like about the Netflix shows. You know, who are like that are like I guess rated R because they make fun of their own selves and they do stuff that regular MCU movies don't. I mean, don't get me wrong, MCU movies are funny. They are like they put jokes in there that make you laugh, and then they also have this amazing choreographed fighting scenes, and everyone's kicking butts and everyone's like doing their best. And but when it comes to rated R shows, it's like you said, they could show that. They could show just like the weapon they're using, or something that is not going to show the actual body being like destroyed by something, right? Maybe like an AK-47 that the Punisher's using, just using it against them, like not actual shooting. But yeah, again, like I think it's a good idea to integrate the R-rated shows. It's obvious we're not going to like stop 10-year-olds from watching them, because if they want to watch them, they can watch them. But legally, at least,
I mean, come on, right? Like, come on. I had AOL back in the day, in the 90s, right? And my parents were like, "Oh, we're gonna put security settings on your computer so you don't go to anything." Guess what? Yeah. I knew how to get into the security system. So they didn't do anything to actually help me out. I knew how to get there and then change the password back to make it look like that I didn't even touch it.
Kids today, especially today with this technology, kids today are like super smart. You're not gonna bypass anything by them. You're not going to like if they want, like, they'll grab their friends' passwords or whatever. Like if they want to watch it, they'll watch it. But again, legally, I guess it's okay, to put it there.
Yeah, it's legally to put it there and let the parents be the parents. Because here's the thing: whenever I saw Deadpool, excuse me, but when I saw Deadpool and I saw 10-year-olds going to see Deadpool, I had a problem with it because of the fact I'm like, look, I'm not your parent. I'm not allowed to tell you what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, and I shouldn't be the one who winds up judging the parents for bringing them there. Hey, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. If they think that their kid can actually handle the mature content, go for it. Because I actually saw R-rated movies at age 10 or younger. So basically it was also part of the maturity level of the kid. So if they can actually handle it, let them do it. If you know your kid better than anybody else does, and then you think that if they can handle this, go on ahead, let them handle it. And everything, because there's going to be ways that they're going to try and get around it to try and figure it out. And also, too, with YouTube around, they can also YouTube something on how to hack something. So it's not that hard to do something in the technology world today like it was back in the heyday of dial-up internet. But when I look at these shows, though, whenever you look at Jessica Jones with Luke Cage, them having sex, nope, you couldn't show that you couldn't even show that in an MCU film unless you did something like they did with the Eternals and stuff like that. And then, yeah, that's another thing. But having the grittiness of these characters and understanding the characterization of these characters are the biggest things that they could actually do for Netflix. And I don't want anything watered down. I'm with John Bernthal. If I want a Punisher TV series, I want him to be dark. I want him to be gritty. I want him to be able to show the bullets going through somebody. I want all of that. But also, too, with Hawkeye, and I managed to managed to watch this. I haven't went back and rewatched it, but there was a scene where I want to say, I think when Clint dressed up like the ninja. I forgot what his ninja's name was. It's been a little bit, but there's a part where he was getting ready to assassinate her father, and you can see the blade going through him with no blood splatter. So that's another way that they can do it.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, you saw that? I said, yeah. I rewinded it just to make sure I saw what I saw. I'm like, oh, this is ballsy from Marvel. This is a whole different level of what they're playing with. Because that's twice that they were ballsy on something. Number one, when we got Best Value Captain America slamming his shield on somebody, and then they show the blood, and then that was actually gritty for the MCU version of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I was trying to remember that ninja name because it's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, no, but it's true. I mean, it is gritty, but if we're being honest, that type of like goriness that the Punisher had, if it's coming, it's just my opinion. This is what I think is gonna happen. If they do end up like miraculously bringing him to Disney Plus, they're gonna cut a lot of the stuff back, a lot of it, because it doesn't even matter. Because to me, at that point, it's not even rated R anymore.
No, it's
Punisher
PG
is like
13.
yeah, Punisher is like on the whole new level. Like Punisher is like man, like he's a Punisher, right? Like he punishes, you know,
Bad
in a
people, and
really
he knows
bad,
how to
yeah,
punish them.
yeah, in a
Like,
really gory way, yeah.
right, and you're dealing with a character that has PTSD. You're dealing with a character who has a lot of issues. And I liked how they brought out the PTSD stuff and things like that in the Netflix shows. And like you said, it's very graphic on the way they do things and stuff like that. With this, this would actually be in the TVMA section of things and stuff like that too. So they can still do it. It's just would have to be in the TVMA level.
Yeah.
But as a cameo, I'm fine with a cameo. I'm fine with them doing that. But as for a whole movie of a PG-13 movie, no, I do not want to see that. But they would have to. And also too, I would like to see Blade as a rated R movie, not as a PG-13 movie. But that's what they're going with, is a PG-13 rating. But I'm not surprised after this that rating changes after the first film. Because I think the first film, they were trying to figure out what they were going to do. And so now it's too late to go back on the rating and stuff like that, especially whenever
Blade?
it's in production. Yeah, Blade.
Okay. Who's
Yeah, because with
the actor who's playing is Mahershala Ali or something like that?
yeah, Marshall Ali. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah, Blade is kind
that
of
movie
going
is
through.
actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're dealing with vampires, you're dealing with blood, you're dealing with a lot of other stuff within the Blade universe. So
Beheading.
the only thing they're gonna, yep. But
Yep.
you can still cut off somebody's head, not show the blood splatter, and still get away with a PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
So you can still do that. But that's who Blade is. Like I said, it's character and representation of a character that we know.
Yeah.
And making it watered down, and no.
So this is a perfect example. Do you remember the network ABC Family?
Yeah.
ABC Family, the whole thing was family. So like when they would show anything gory or anything, it was not like that big of a deal. As soon as I'm saying this because one of my favorite TV shows, which is like a teenagers TV, like a girls teenager show, it's called Pretty Little Liars, right? So when it was back on ABC Family, everything that would happen, they wouldn't show a lot of the stuff. They wouldn't show they would show like someone dying, but not really how they died or anything. As soon as the network changed its name to Freeform, we literally saw heads rolling downstairs. We saw like people being like, like stabbed, their necks, everything. Like, so it's a perfect example of how things change when you switch from one
Involved,
thing
yeah.
to another. Yeah. So when that's my hope. That's my only hope, that just because it went to Disney Plus and they're allowing rated R, hopefully they're allowing it, that they don't just like water it down at all. Because I'm pretty
That's what I'm
sure
hoping.
that there's still going to be like a lot of cameos. Like I can't wait for She-Hulk, because she's like, Tatiana Maslany is one of my favorite actresses ever. I know that I think they said that it was gonna be like more like a comedy type of show.
And
But if
also
it
has
won't,
that lawyer vibe to it too. Kind of like a
yeah,
Law and Order kind of vibe.
yeah. So we know there's gonna be a lot of cameos in the future. Literally, I read yesterday an article, I think online, or it was Google or something, that there were rumors of uh, who was it? Elizabeth Olsen's sister. I just don't know which sister was gonna come out on the new Doctor Strange movie as a variant for Scarlet Witch.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, I mean, that sounds awesome. I mean, it sucks because it's just gonna be one of the twins, right? If that does happen, but we've seen the rumors, and usually the rumors that we've heard, they're real. They've all been like real. Um, again, I was upset because it was like for me, Spider-Man 3 was like a full circle kind of thing. So I wanted like if they were gonna do something to bring everyone back, and I think I talked to you about this on Messenger. I wanted Mary Jane, the original Mary Jane, to like make a comeback as well, maybe just for like 1 minute. But I was like, if it was like a full circle kind of thing, that would have been badass. That would have been amazing. Um,
Like
yeah,
have all their love interests in one movie.
yeah. Well, I mean, with
Well,
Tobey Maguire, because the other love interest didn't make
right,
it, right?
right.
Um,
But yeah, I can definitely see that level. I remember you talking to me about that. To
yeah.
be
So
honest, and
cameos are gonna be like they're not going anywhere.
no, but here's the thing with cameos, though. I don't want it to be where it's just for the sake of having cameos. I wanted the cameos to be in there to have plot and motivation behind the cameo. So if it's
Yeah,
there to motivate a plot, I'm all for it. But it's just there saying if someone's passing by, I'm okay with that. But if it's there just for, let's say, for instance, the guy's in the store and they're having a small conversation that has nothing to do with the plot, and it's just
yeah.
sake for
Which
just
Deadpool
being,
did a lot.
yeah, because that's what
Deadpool
I
did a lot
have a
about
problem
that.
with.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I
Um,
have a big point. Here's the thing: I have a big problem with nostalgia. Whenever there's a such thing as nostalgia to actually keep the plot moving, and then there's this nostalgia that doesn't do anything. And with Spider-Man: No Way Home, they managed to give us nostalgia, but was able to actually amplify. Here's the thing: they were able to do things to amplify the plot to keep the plot moving, and I think they did a very good job incorporating all that.
yep. And this is why these MCU movies keep like they keep going up and up and up. Like you don't see an MCU movie being like, oh, like it didn't make this much this week, because they are always reinventing themselves. They're always looking for ways to satisfy the viewers, the moviegoers, the movie lovers like us. Um,
Right.
and again, moving it to, going back to the subject, moving it to Disney Plus. I think they did a good job. And I really hope that they could continue with seasons. Um, I know it's probably not going to happen because I mean there's budgets, there's like the actors are doing other stuff now, so it'd be, even though it's like usually the Disney Plus shows are like 6 episodes only. It takes time, especially during like we're barely like getting out of that pandemic where
Right.
everybody's getting
Right.
comfortable like doing stuff again. I don't see it happening, but I mean, I hope they do, especially with they could have done a lot more in my opinion with Iron Fist. Um,
Oh, they could have done a lot with Iron Fist, to be honest with you.
yep,
That was
they
such a
could have done
letdown. Now
more.
that's one of the things. Yeah.
They rushed it. They rushed this. I think it was season 2. Especially the last 2 or 3 episodes of that season, of the last season. It felt very, very rushed. Like, let's finish this really quickly and let's move on. Just to close that chapter.
To
They
be
could have done a
honest
lot
with
more.
you, to be honest with you, I didn't even. I finished up the first season of Iron Fist. I'm like, I don't even want to watch the second season, and that's also how I felt with the second season. I watched. Here, yeah, man. I mean, I was like, I was so let
Spoiler
down.
alert.
I was so let down with Iron Fist to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. Why am I investing my time, my energy into this? And then with Luke Cage, with this first season, I was invested a little bit, But then when you get into that final episode, it's anticlimactic, especially the way that it was done.
Mhm.
Because you took care of Cottonmouth, and then you wind up having this other villain now that took over. And it just doesn't work. It just felt rushed. It didn't really feel like there was any context into what they were doing. And I just felt like that was rushed. And
Yeah.
then second season, I watched a little bit of Luke Cage, where basically they're incorporating YouTube and everybody on these cell phones and stuff like that on YouTube channels and things like that to follow Luke Cage around, and also representing as well as drones. But it just didn't hit the mark for me. Where I'm like, do I really want to invest in this? I love the character, I love the actor. It's just the motivation behind it that I didn't
Yeah.
really enjoy.
He was
You know,
towards that season, towards the last season, he got a little cocky with that. And we've seen that that doesn't work all the time, or maybe not at all. It's the same thing that happened with Black Lightning on the CW. Lightning became this cocky person, and she was being followed with cameras around, and look at me, I'm this huge superhero, and I'm helping people. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for obvious reasons. With Jessica Jones was my favorite of all those four shows was Jessica Jones, just because she's a badass, and I mean, she is like she doesn't care about anything. Obviously, my favorite defender would be Iron Fist. With Jessica Jones, I did think they did a good job with their villains and everything. Obviously, we all hated when there's like a possible new hero introduced, and like and Netflix just like cuts off the seasons, and like the show ends, right? Um, so that's what I'm saying. Like, hopefully, if they do bring it to Disney Plus, if they make new seasons, hopefully they don't change who the actors are, just to make a show. Hopefully they won't
exactly.
bring like a new actor to play Jessica Jones, just to like appease to the masses. Like, hopefully that doesn't happen.
I'm hoping not to. I think that they're gonna actually find a new direction for Jessica Jones. I'm hoping that they get the same actress to play Jessica Jones because she
Yeah,
did such a great job. And also, too, they also gave us a great villain, which is Purple Man, with the mind manipulation stuff and things like that. I had so much fun watching Purple Man that the second
hmm
season, when they introduced the other villain, was just such a letdown when they could have just kept Purple Man around instead of killing him
yeah.
off, because I think that he could have been even more of a bigger threat in the second season versus the first season and everything. Because he could actually,
He was iconic.
yeah, he's very iconic, and everybody loved him and everything.
Yeah.
Uh, Tennant did a very good job at playing him, to be honest. But
Yep.
David Tennant, that is. But I definitely enjoy these Netflix movies. I'm excited to see what else that they have in store for us as far as things go. But right now, it makes me giddy to know that we're actually getting these things on. They're moving away from Netflix and going into Disney Plus to pick up more subscribers. So it gives us adults more content for us.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love the Star Wars stuff. I'm enjoying the Mandalorian than anything. Boba Fett, I didn't watch yet. I was just busy with Peacemaker. I'm watching Peacemaker, so I can't really go on how good Boba Fett is or anything like that on the book of Boba Fett. But I do have to say this. One thing about doing Star Wars shows, and I know this is not Star Wars. I know that we're talking about Disney Plus, but I'm just talking about Disney Plus as a whole. But with Star Wars, when it was, and to be honest with you, when it was in the movie theaters, stuff like that. I love seeing it, but it also made the world so small to the point where the only planet they were visiting was the same desert planet over and over again. To the point where it's like, where's all the other planets? Where's everything else? So with doing a TV series, you can actually incorporate other planets and stuff, and you can also do the same thing with your comic book characters as well. And this is also going back over to our story now, but another thing I want to mention that I feel like that they could do is going ahead do some more traveling with these characters in other countries and things like they did with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And here's the thing: I'm okay with them just doing 6 episodes, doing like a one-off, and not doing another season of something, because that's what they're doing with WandaVision. So I felt like with WandaVision, I'm like, okay, her character does not need to have a second season. It can now flow through Doctor Strange. So I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I want to see more of, because they had that buddy cop kind of feel to it that I liked. And then, of course, we're going to get Echo, which at first her introduction into Hawkeye. Here's the thing: I liked her in the first episode because of the fact that we actually had something that we cared about. We actually have her and Uncle Kingpin, Fisk, taking her to karate and things like that, and taking her in. And then it just falls flat at the very end of the season. Don't get me wrong; I know it's all part of the canon of the comic lore, but it makes me not want to care about Echo now. It doesn't do anything for me to invest my time and energy into an Echo show or anything either. So,
Yeah.
but but yeah, but as far as Disney Plus with Netflix's shows, I can't wait to actually see what else they're going to do with it. Maybe they might actually branch off and do more stuff in that kind of tone, which I'm hoping that they do. And now Deadpool can live within that universe, and I feel like that's what they need to do. Is just have all
Yeah.
their all-rated characters in one universe.
Yeah, it's also how they portray the grittiness, the goriness, how they portray, because when there's goriness on Deadpool, it's usually always comical. Usually always like, oh, like I lost 2 arms, but whatever, I can grow them back. With the Punisher,
Right.
is different. The Punisher is like punishing. Um,
He's also
but
human, not to mention too.
yeah, who's also him? Yeah. So for that's what I was saying, that for Disney Plus to do something like that, they will have to water something down. But I hope they bring us, the adults, I guess, who love these types of movies, some satisfaction, because it's gonna suck if they don't. Again, Punisher, I highly doubt that they'll do anything with Punisher other than cameos. But again, hopefully they do cameos with a certain, like, helping the plot instead of just being like a bystander, bystander character. And
Definitely.
I remember the name. The name is Ronan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Because for some reason, yeah, I knew it started with an R, but thank you for
yeah.
remembering now.
It was on the
um,
tip of my tongue. I was like, wait, what is it? What is it? Yeah, it's Ronan.
right, thank you for that. But yeah, other than that though, that's everything that I wanted to talk about as far as this goes. What about you?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean the same thing that we've been saying all along. I mean, hopefully they integrate a lot of more stuff, and we see a lot more of Jessica Jones, at least to find out what happened to their characters, or like what they're doing with their characters, like in now, since it's been years. But to at least get that, since we're getting these shows on Disney Plus.
Definitely. And I want to just go off one more thing that you mentioned with the humor before we close out. Is the fact, yeah, it's humor, but underneath the humor, there's a lot more stuff there. For instance, you actually have, for instance, with Black Widow, where they were talking about how they removed the ovaries. Yeah, it was a very funny moment, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it was also something very serious and
Yeah,
everything. We're laughing, but it's also serious moments behind that. Then also too, Thor watching his planet getting destroyed, and Korg, even though he's joking, even though Korg is joking on that movie and everything, it's still very sad to see your planet that you loved and you grew up on getting destroyed.
yeah,
So definitely do, and they definitely do a good job at that. But also too, with Netflix's series, they do have a little bit of a dark humor to them as well. It may not be as much humor, but it's there beneath everything, beneath that darkness that they have.
yeah, yeah. Especially
But
the Jessica Jones show. That was they did a lot of humor there. But yeah, when it's true. Obviously all these things are funny, but there's like bad history about them. But I was when I say the funny part was when, like, for example, Deadpool seemed like a kid in school because he was short.
Mhm.
Like all those
That part made me.
idiotic things that are like funny. But yeah, man, that's the gist of it. I mean, it's Marvel. It's rated R shows. They're going into Disney Plus, so that's a step forward. Hopefully, they keep walking forward and not 3 steps back.
I don't. This is. Here's the thing. If it was any other company, I would actually be a little bit more fearful. But with Kevin Feige putting the characters, putting directors and stuff like that all in its placement, and knowing and caring about what they're doing and getting the right person involved, I'm all. He's good at misdirection. He's good at what he does. Kevin Feige can do no wrong in my book. And even if he does mess up
Yep.
once, they had more home runs than they had misses, in my opinion.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
he's
and
allowed to at least have one strike.
For me, a lot of those misses were the Marvel, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, or even Thor. Sometimes, I was not as a fan as I am as, like, for example, Captain America 3, right?
So
with the fights and all that.
right. So basically, the space stuff kind of doesn't work for you in a sense.
Yeah, no, it's like very how, like, I guess for like comic book lovers, like from the, like since they were kids, they've been doing that. For me, it's more like movies and like what I see. So seeing that, but I mean, I'm excited for Jane on Thor because she's
See,
making a
I'm actually the
comeback. So
opposite. I'm actually the opposite with Jane. Like, if they could pick another actress to play her, I'll be
but you
okay
don't,
with it.
but you don't like her, or
Not for that role. I like the
mm,
actress. It's just maybe the writing was the problem. Maybe Taika Waititi would actually do something to actually make me like her because I'm rooting for her. It's
yeah,
just when I call her plain Jane because she had no range.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
last,
Also, her lack of enthusiasm also didn't help. But I guess I'm a
no,
fan of hers in real life. Um, but I'm
I like her though.
excited. I'm excited how you are, like, about Fantastic Four. Like, I can't wait to see what they do with that.
Me too.
Um,
There's a lot of stuff that they can do in that, and I can't wait to see if we get an announcement for that and the X-Men.
yep.
So that's gonna be it as far as the show goes and everything. Thank you guys for joining me. We'll do this again because I had a blast just chatting with
Yeah,
you back and forth like
for
this, man.
sure.
We geeked out for almost an hour and it didn't even feel like an hour, to be honest.
I know. Yeah, it was
It's a
fun. It was
pleasure,
fun.
man.
It was like
Right.
a long awaited.
It definitely was a long awaited. I've been trying to get you on for a Scream review or something, but this is great too, though. Geeking
Yeah.
out about comics and stuff like that is my niche, so that's even better. So,
Alrighty.
with that being said, guys, this is what you guys can do. Go on ahead and follow us. Follow my Movie Lovers, TV Lovers Unite page on Facebook, underneath the same brand name on Pinterest and on Instagram as well. If you guys want an audio-only podcast of our episodes here at Movie Lovers Night, you guys can get that on all major podcast platforms. But what you guys need to do is go over to Apple Podcasts and over to Spotify as well and rate us over there. It allows other people to go ahead and find us. Also, too, go over to Good Pods. Good Pods is this new app. It's basically social media for podcasters or someone that likes listening to a podcast. You can rate individual episodes. You can also go on ahead and we can talk back and forth to you. You guys can comment on individual episodes. You can even tell me my episodes suck and tell me why they suck and what I need to do. I'm okay with that. Let's have the conversation. Then, of course, guys, go on ahead and give me some love over here at this channel, though, too. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe over there. Click that bottom right-hand corner on that bell to allow you guys to know when we have something coming out. Matter of fact, speaking of coming out of stuff and things like that, we're actually doing the Batman spoiler review tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock. No, let me think. It's actually 9 o'clock this time because Alex is on Pacific Time, and Alex is going to be joining me. And I'll also have Abby from Motor City Nerds back here with me again. She was fantastic on my Batman and Robin review. So go ahead and check that out when you guys have a chance. Then, of course, if you guys want to donate to the page, how do you do that? You just go to gofundme.com/movie lovers podcast. That's how you can donate $5 to $10 over there. But you can also tip us on Good Pods as well, and that actually helps us out with new equipment and keeping the lights on here at Movie Lovers Unite. Then, if you want to, go on and follow me underneath Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter, Movie Lovers Unit 0 on TikTok, and then, of course, email me if you're a sponsor or like to be on the show at movieloversunite@gmail.com. Thank you, Gus, once again for joining me. This has been a pleasure, man. Don't be a stranger here at Movie Lovers Unite. Seriously, dude. This was fun.
Yes, sir. Just let me know when.
Right? I sure will. And always until next time, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. I can't wait to do this again. And bye-bye. All right. That was great.
That was fun. That was like, it didn't even feel like an hour, to be honest. We just started talking, and I was like, how are we gonna feel like a whole show, a whole episode
based on this?
Yeah, and I was like, we ended up doing like what, over 55 minutes? So
yeah, about 56 minutes. So it's actually perfect. It's almost under an hour, but still, it's perfect. Basically, I don't try to keep up with here's the thing. I did an hour and 45-minute show with the best and worst movies.
Are we still live?
Yeah, that was live.
No, but are we still live right now? Because I see a timer.
No.
Okay.
That's the time of the recording. It's off now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But man, that's one challenging thing, is to pack one topic into one single episode. That's the challenging thing, and also finding things to keep talking about. And that's why I like doing this. I mean, to me, this is like such a rush for me. It's like doing cocaine. Basically, at night after a successful show, it's hard for me to calm myself down at night because of the fact that I have such a great time doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, it was so much fun. Like, this is the first time I actually do it. I'm like, if I had known that this was gonna be like this fun, I would have done like a lot of the things that I wanted to do that you suggested. Like, for that, like, obviously Scream has like one of my favorite like all-time movies, right? For Scream 5, like, I'm just thinking of things that I could have said, when you were doing that, when you suggested it. But yeah, it's like so much fun. Like, literally, you're just talking to someone about something like that interests us both, and like,
just a conversation between friends. That's
yeah. And it's
that's
awesome
what I like about it. It's just like,
because like, obviously, like, your show keeps growing, and that's amazing. Like, this is what's important to, like, for people to actually see that we're not just bullshitting, that we actually care about these things that we talk about, and if people